Well, welcome everybody. My name is Liam Phillips, and welcome to the Disease of Relationship. Now, as you can all see, I've got this beautiful mask on. I'm in Venice at the moment, and it is a wonderful city. If you ever have the chance of visiting, I thoroughly recommend it. And at the same time, there is a lot of heaviness here, a lot of relationship, a lot of boy meets girl. I've been sitting in restaurants and listening to conversations of men and women. Like the other night, there were two guys, there was a girl and a guy, and they were both wanting to fuck each other, and they were doing competition with each other. It was totally amazing. She was trying to outdo him. He was trying to outdo her. And where is the kindness and caring in that relationship? All it is about getting the two body parts together, which is fine if that's what you want. But what if you could also have a kindness and caring and fun and joy and laughter and expansiveness? And so that this evening I rushed out. I went and bought this mask from this dude who makes masks. And I said, "Do you enjoy your job?" He said, "I love it." And that's the reason I went into the shop, was because I could really get the sense that this guy loved what he did. And when we had a conversation about it, he said, "Yeah, I get to meet lots of different and interesting people. I can make a different mask every day. I'm not stuck in anything." And one of the things is with the disease of relationship is we tend to get stuck into this loop that goes over and over and over and over again. So I went and bought the mask because I would like to take the mask off tonight. I'd like to take the mask off relationship. I'd like to take the mask off the disease of relationship, because I know, and I get that all of you guys know too, that relationship can be a huge contribution to your life, your living, your reality, whether it's with another person, whether it's with yourself, whether it's with money, whether it's with your body or your business. If you're willing to actually look at what you are being with relationship to all of those things and take that mask off and be totally honest. And I don't like using the word brutally honest, and Alan knows that. I like to use the word lovingly honest, because I think there's too much fucking brutality in this reality. If we can be lovingly honest with ourselves, and it doesn't mean that you have to do what I do and get Channel 10 and expose your heart and expose what's going on in your own reality to the entire world. All it means that you have to do is be lovingly honest with yourself. Really look at what it is that you're creating with your relationships, with money, bodies, people, lovers, family, whatever that is. So tonight I would really like to invite all of you to take off your mask just for a minute and just be totally vulnerable with you. And oh my God, I am a good looking chap. How does it get any better than that? So would you all be willing right now just to be totally vulnerable with? I'm not asking you to talk about it. I'm not asking you to ask questions about it in front of other people, but just be totally honest with yourself right now of what it is that you'd like to create as your relationship with you. And just get the energy of that right now. Do you want a relationship with you where you're constantly self-judging yourself, where you're always second-guessing yourself, where you're always in doubt of yourself? Or would you like to have a relationship where you know what you know and you never have to give yourself away for that? These are some of the symptoms that I found that have come up in my reality with regards to relationship, is that so often, you know, in the pretense of caring for the other person, is that I give myself away more and more and more to prove that I care. And what that really creates is this wonky universe with the other person, or that wonky universe with money. Oh, let's look at money. Money will leave you very, very quickly because there is no point of view with money. Whereas another person, they may stick with you for a long period of time because they're also going into that disease of relationship and trying to make things easy for you. And how many of you are cutting you off for that pretense of caring, or the invention of what you've decided a relationship should look like? Now, please, 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 if you're in that space where relationships are not working for you, that all you can think of, and it's going round and round and round in your head, and that you're making yourself wrong, or you're making the other person wrong, like, don't go to the wrongness of that. It's not wrong. It's something that can be changed if you choose it. Now, I've been going through some really, really mega big changes myself over the last 6 weeks. And it's been incredibly enlightening for me. And I use the word enlightening because there's a lightness that is showing up in my reality now that hasn't been there before, because I've been willing to be lovingly honest with myself and start to have a look at this stuff. And as I've been willing to do that, so the people that I've been in relationship with have also now been able to start to step forward and step into who they be too. And that's one of the godsends of this, is that when you're willing to be more and more of you in relationship with you, is that it opens up doors for other people that you say that you care for, or your body that you say that you care for, or money that you say that you care for. Does any of that make sense? Or am I just gas bagging again? Probably.
You never gas bag.
Oh no, I'm the biggest big bag on the planet. I just talk and talk and talk and talk. I can talk underwater. So if you do have a question, please put a question in the below, or actually ask a question out loud. I would like this. This is a call to sell your call later on, so that we can actually have in depth. So, but also at the same time, in 45 minutes we can change a lot. This morning I had an amazing session with my friend Andrew Rigg, and I would to change. I kept on telling him, I am so sorry, I'm just wasting your time. I'm just not willing to change. He facilitated for me for about 75 minutes. And after 70 minutes, there was something that he said that opened up bucket loads for me and changed things. So what in this 45 minutes, even if it's just a little piece of information, or if it's just one question that you ask that not only opens up the possibility for you, but opens up the possibility for someone else. And what if that is actually true kindness and caring, is the willingness to open the door of possibility for yourself and for other people. And I know my friend Alan, he's looking at doing some stuff about kick-ass kindness. And I get that that's really one of the things that we as infinite beings have a capacity to be, is always opening up the door to a different possibility. It's one of those things that Gary Douglas talks about as being a gentleman, is like a gentleman is not just somebody who opens a car door for a woman. It's somebody who is willing to open up a door of possibility. And so would you all be willing to be that kindness and caring for yourself just over the next 45 minutes without going into judgment of yourself? And everything that doesn't allow that, can we destroy and uncreate it all, please? Good and bad, right and wrong, pop, all night, short boys, meals. And if you're new to Access, that's called the Access Clearing Statement. It just clears all the rightness and wrongness in your reality. You can check it out on www.theaccessclearingstatement.com. So I've got some notes here. Let me just see if I can find them again, because I'm a bit... Any questions while I'm just checking the notes?
Two things. First of all, when you come on the call, can you make sure you mute yourself in case you've got background noise? Because every now and then we can hear stuff and it just distorts the recording. So if I can get everyone just to mute yourself. If you have a question, type it in the chat room, unmute, raise your hand, scream your tits off, do whatever you want, but just mute for the time being. And secondly, the clearing statement that Liam just talked about, I put the link in the chat room for you to find out more about it if you would like to.
Okay, so I'm just going to, now I'm going to start because I've just had my spiel. So one of the things, the disease of relationship was actually something that came up during a Being You facilitators class about 6 weeks ago in Australia. Now, I wasn't going to go to that class because I was already a Being You facilitator, but in the last hour I went, holy fuck, I've got to go. And on day 3, I was in the class. It was a 3-day class, and Dane had been doing that thing with the energy where I wanted to ask a question all the day before, but he wouldn't let me ask the question and let me roast. And the next day I said to him, you know, like, I don't know what to do with my relationship. I'm in this constant space of wanting to say yes to it and then say no to it. And he asked me a lot of questions, and I was really willing to be very honest with what was coming up in my reality. And I was doing a lot of, you know, poor, pitiful me and all of that sort of stuff. But what actually came up at one point was, once we started to clear some stuff, is I said to them, holy fuck, disease is easier than relationship. And for some of you, you know that I had created a disease many years ago that almost killed me. And literally I was 24 hours from death. And if I hadn't have had some medical intervention and some awesome facilitation from my ex-wife, which is called allowance, I wouldn't be here today. And so Dane looked at me and sort of did, you know, the double take. And he said, oh, wow, the disease of relationship. And so we actually came up with a clearing. Now, I was going to save this for the telecall, but I think it's very, very appropriate to give you this now. So what actually came up was this clearing, and it was, what have you made so vital, valuable, and real about the order, the schematics and the order of the disease of relationship that keeps you from the chaos of the ease of being communally free? And everything that doesn't allow, everything that is, would you now be willing to destroy and uncreate it all?
Yeah.
Good and bad, right, wrong, pop, corner, short boys and beyonds.
And again,
now, if you've got these headers gone fucking, you know, like south for the winter, I am not surprised, because I have been running that clearing constantly, and still stuff is showing up for me. So what came out of that was all of these symptoms of relationship. And so much of our relationships are actually based on invention. They're not based on on actual reality. And I'm really good at that. You know, I look at a person, or I look at a project, and those people that have worked with me know that I can look at a project and I can see a whole bunch of things, and then I start to invent things from that, rather than being in the question and the possibility and the contribution and the choices of what can be created there.
Yeah.
And so invention are often these schematics that we plug into our reality to make it show up the way that we've already decided that we want it to show up. And if you're in relationship with somebody and it doesn't match the energy of what they would like, it can create a lot of conflict for you and the other person. And if you're doing it, say like with money, money will go away very quickly. You start functioning from schematics, or if you are trying to order it into reality, a lot quicker than most people, because most people are sort of like you and me. We are programmed to take a certain amount of shit before we actually change it. So, but money won't do that. Money won't take shit from you. Your business won't take shit from you. It will just go away. So these are some of the symptoms that I came up with after asking that question. And it was sort of like,
Liam,
yeah, sure.
can you do the question again? You wanted me to type it out, but I only got halfway through.
What have you made so vital, valuable, and real about the schematics and the order of the disease of relationship?
The schematics, hang on, and the order, yeah.
Of the disease of relationship.
Yeah.
That keeps you from the chaos.
Yeah.
Of the ease of being communally free.
Of being communally free.
Yeah.
Right.
That's not communicably as in a sexual disease. It's communally as in being in communion with oneself, which is in communion with everything else.
Cool.
And so communally free really is looking at this space where we actually go beyond relationship, because a relationship is basically based on invention. It's basically based on what we project onto either the other person, our bodies, or money flows or businesses. And when we start to project that, if it doesn't show up in the way that we've projected, then we have to by default go into some sort of conflict, either conflict with the other person, which is being angry, and then you try to control them, or conflict with yourself, where you start to go into the wrongness of yourself, which is also a story to try and control the other person or the other thing or your body into doing what it is that you would like to do. Either way, it's about controlling the other or controlling yourself. It's all about control, and it's not about the choice, the possibility, the contribution, and the question that you can be in relationship. Now, to shoot for being communally free is really great. And one of the things that really stuck me was that if I'm not in communion, I must be doing something fucking wrong. Yeah. And so I would then use that to make myself even more wrong. And it was the other day that I was talking to a beautiful friend of mine, and we were talking about this, about being communally free, and, you know, being an allowance of the other person. And this person is just about to get married. And we both were looking at this idea of being total allowance of the other person having sex with someone else. And he said, Liam, I'm just not there yet. It's just not, it's a great target, but I'm just not there. And I looked at that and I went, wow, this is fucking amazing, because that is a great target. And I've bought that as a great target. And I have been functioning from that as a target, and at the moment it doesn't really work for me. And so what I found with that was that is that I'm buying a lot of points of view that are really great in theory, and trying to fit into that rather than really looking at what is true and real for me in the 10 seconds. And yeah, sure, in 10 years' time, I might actually be that communally free that I would be so totally willing for that to be a possibility. But in this 10 seconds, I have now recognized that really doesn't work for me. And where I have tried to make it work for me is where I have cut off my awareness of what's true and real for me in this 10 seconds. So what I'd really like for you guys to get, if you're willing to run that clearing, what have you made so vital, valuable, and real about the disease, the schematics and the orders of the disease of relationship that is keeping you from the ease of being communically free, is run that clearing so that you can get what's true and real for you now, not trying to force yourself into being communally free where, you know, everything is totally fine and you're in total loving allowance of whatever anybody chooses, or what your body or how your body is showing up, or whatever that is. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. And we have a question.
We have a question? Oh, cool. I like questions.
Mm-hmm. So 2 things really. First of all, Karina says, for me, a lot has changed since I did the facilitator training in March. So I've become more willing to be really honest with myself, even if I first go into defending against or into story. She meant being a new facilitator. So that's kind of similar to what you were just saying around, having your aims and being clear about what's true for you. But Rohia is asking, what do I do if there is a bigger energy that I don't allow myself to be totally me?
Yeah. So I just want to go through back through a few things. So what I found is that there's a whole bunch of symptoms when you're really going into the disease of relationship. And one of those is when you start to go into this looping thing where you're going over and over and over the same thing and you can't seem to think anything else. That you may well start to make yourself wrong or the other person wrong, or that you try to use anger to control the other person, or you use your story of poor pitiful you to control the other person. That it's often really difficult for you to make decisions, and that you often make choices based on the other person. Now, those choices that you're making are often very energetic ones, and that you don't even recognize that you're actually making the choice for the other person. And for me, with women especially, it like that's actually really mine, and then I start making choices based on that projected point of view. Now, with men and women, there is a difference. Men do relationships to have sex, and women do sex to have relationship. And so when a woman puts something in my head, and I start going into relationship with that, I will start to cut off bits and pieces of myself and vice versa if I do it with her with regards to sex.
Liam, I don't know that that's necessarily true for everyone.
It's not necessarily true for everyone. It's pretty much how this reality works.
Yes.
But it doesn't necessarily mean that it is true for you. So these are just symptoms that I have come up with for myself. So please don't buy any of this stuff as real and true. You always have to be in the question of what is true for you. Yeah?
Yeah.
So, and I guess if anything, that's what I was talking about earlier on. We tend to we hear somebody say something and we buy that as a point of view. And if we buy that as a point of view and it's not true for ourselves, then we can fuck ourselves up with that point of view. And you know, it might have been a point of view that you bought 20 years ago or 20 lifetimes ago or whatever that is. So the other thing is that the disease of relationship is sort of like that you start to feel separate from everyone or everything else, that you are constantly apologizing for what you are creating. You're often telling the story, which is, we all know the story. It's dull and boring, and you tell it over and over again, and it's the same thing. Or that we buy the other person's story if we're in a relationship with them. That we often keep referencing the past. And this was one that I really liked. I stole it off Gary. You start torturing yourself with the loss of the possibilities that you knew were possible with that person or with that money or with that business, rather than looking at the truth of reality. And that's probably one of those things that you can turn into like a question, is like, is this a fantasy of possibility, or is this actually a truth of reality? And so often we buy the fantasy of possibility rather than looking at what's true and real for us in that 10 seconds. The other thing is we often, if you're in the disease of relationship, we often go into defending our point of view. Rather than being totally honest with ourselves. And when you, Lisa's got her hand up. Do you want to ask a question or?
Okay, that just, whatever you just said, that one that you just said, Gary, that kind of, can you say that one again? And maybe Alan, the gorgeous Alan, could type that into the chat room.
Yeah, it's sort of like we torture ourselves with the fantasy of possibilities rather than looking at the truth of reality. So how many of us have, we meet somebody, or we have a business project, or we're looking at doing something different with our body, and all of a sudden we go into these scenarios of thematics where we actually see a possibility, and then we go, oh wow, yeah, I really like that possibility. And then rather than staying in the question of the possibility and the truth of the reality of that, what we do is we follow the fantasy of that or the invention of that, because we've decided that that's how we want it to show up, rather than really looking at what is the truth here. So one of the questions that I would be asking with that is, okay, so is this a fantasy of possibility, or am I willing to look at the truth of reality here? What is really true here that I don't want to look at? So those are some of the symptoms that I have found. And Alan, I didn't mean to cut you off with regards to that, what you said about that's not true for everyone. Yes, you are correct. It's not true for everyone. I just wanted to get through that so we can get into some other.
Thanks. We've got another question about that in the chat room.
Yeah, sure.
So Minghana says, what about just to want to have sex without commitments and want to be and feel free, just like you and your partner were in the beginning of a relationship? I feel blocked and I destroy and uncreate our relationship. What kind of question can I ask?
Yeah. I don't know if this is handy, but what I've found is that often when we meet somebody, and at the beginning, there is a lot of intensity, like, wow, the sex is great. You're finding out things about each other. It's like, it's really wow. Everything is intense. The world looks rosy, and then as we go into, as we start to go into relationship of some description, we try to keep that intensity there rather than going into the truth of reality. And this is one of the things that really fucks us up, is that we try to keep that intensity there rather than moving into the expansiveness of the peace and ease and joy that we can have with being in communion with the other person without having to go into the trauma and drama. And this is another one of those, what I call the things, because what you're actually doing with that is you're trying to maintain the intensity of when you first met the person or the project or the business that you're creating. Or even, when you first start going to the gym to work out and change what's going on in your body, there's a lot of intensity in that. And then after a while, it starts to dull down, and you try to maintain that intensity. And then often what actually occurs is with your body is that you will pull a muscle or something, because the intensity is no longer real and true. You're moving into something different. You're moving into the institution. And what we try to do is to maintain the intensity of it. You can't do that. It doesn't work. We all know that doesn't work, because what happens is that you just start to create more and more trauma and drama by trying. So I've forgotten what the question was. What was the question?
So it was so we've got another one in there as well. This is about having sex without commitments and want to be free, just like you and your partner were in the beginning of a relationship. So you were talking about the intensity at the beginning and how we try and keep that going.
Gary talks about this idea of, 1, 2, 3, and you're married. And he also says, and you'll all test that out. Yes, I've tested it out. It really doesn't work. Once it's 1, 2, 3, and you are in some sort of relationship. Now that's not a wrongness. It's just that things have changed. But if you try to keep the intensity of that, when you first start, that you don't care if that person goes away and has sex with somebody else. It's because there is no relationship. There is no commitment there before. There is no commitment there. There is no past there. There's nothing to hold it in place. And that's why I've given you that clearing. What have you made so vital, valuable, and real about the schematics and the order of the disease of relationship that keeps you from the chaos of ease with being communally free? Because it's not about you being able to have a fuck fest or whatever it is whilst you're in a relationship. It's about finding out what's really true and real for you, and what's really true and real for your partner or your business or your body or your money flows, so that you don't push them away. You don't fuck your reality. I've pushed friends and trying to push them into these scenarios or schematics or inventions that I've created, rather than just acknowledge, okay, I've created an invention here. So one of the really, really, really cool tools that Gary gave me, and it's much simpler than that other clearing that I've just said, is what invention are you using with the upset you are choosing? So if in your relationship that there's a lot of upset, whether it's with, you're really upset with your body, you can't change it, you've got a disease, you're skinny, you're fat, whatever it is, ask, what invention am I using with the upset that I'm choosing with my body, with my money flows, with my lover, whatever that is? And also at the same time, what invention am I using with the trauma and drama I am choosing, with my body, with my money flows, with my lover, with my family? And keep asking that question. And what invention am I using with what was the other one that came up? Trauma, drama, that intrigue that I am choosing. So we can put that all into one clearing. What invention am I using with the trauma and drama, upset and intrigue am I choosing? And please, if you're choosing trauma and drama, upset and intrigue, it's not a fucking wrongness. It's just a fucking choice. It doesn't mean that you've done something wrong. It's just the way that this reality has been created and we're buying into it. We are not wrong. You're not wrong for choosing that. You're not wrong because you have invented something and you want somebody to fit into that reality and it's not working out. It just means that it's not working out. Time to do something different. It's been a biggie for me. It's like, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. You're not right. You're strong. What if you were not wrong, not right? What if you were actually strong? What if you never had to defend the wrongness of you or the rightness of you or the rightness of wrongness of money or the rightness of wrongness of your partner's point of view? This is where we start to become more and more willing to be in allowance of who we be, which is part of that 5 elements of vulnerability and intimacy. The vulnerability, the trust, the allowance, and that, and gratitude, and whatever the other one is. Probably something, honor. Yeah. And that is one of the big symptoms of the disease of relationship, is when you stop trusting you. Because as soon as you stop trusting you, stop trusting your knowing, stop trusting who you be, stop trusting your own perceptions, and stop trusting what you're receiving, then you start going into some sort of weird fucking ass reality that is not yours, whether it's the other person's or whether it's a point of view that you bought from someone else.
Okay, we've got a couple of things in the chat room.
Yeah.
So McAnna's saying, so we'll start with that. She's no wrong, not wrong me, just that I don't feel light, trauma and drama, etc. All the possibilities are shut down for me with that concept.
I'm sorry, but I missed that because my internet went out.
I just don't feel light with the trauma and drama, and all possibilities are shut down for me with that concept.
With what concept?
The trauma and drama stuff. I'm not 100% sure what Minkanna's saying, but she just feels that all possibilities are shut down for her.
What I would suggest, is that you ask that question: what invention am I using with the trauma and drama I am choosing? Trauma. How many of you guys find trauma and drama light, fun and easy?
No.
Yeah, trauma and drama is not light. You can make it light as long as there's no charge attached to it. You know, and this is one of the things. People, I often used to call me Princess Liam. Yeah. And
Princess Liam is frozen.
And you know, like Lisa, you know me really well. Roger, you know me well. Alan, you know me well. Who's that down? Judy, you know me well. You know, when I do that, and it's just fun and light, and I'm just kidding around, and you know, like it's really easy, you know. But there's no charge attached to it. But as soon as there's a charge attached to it, you start going into the trauma and drama of it, the invention of it, the significance of it, the story of it, and it starts to become really, really fucking heavy. As soon as something becomes heavy, you know it's not true for you. That's the time to run. What invention am I using with the trauma and drama that I am choosing? What invention am I using with the upset that I am choosing?
So we have another question. So Charu is saying, what questions to ask when you have an awareness that you are surrounded by relatives waiting only to control and misuse you and your generosity, when you are constantly judged by them and you are aware of barriers being thrown at you and the negative vibe, and yet to choose to be and deal with them for one person, you choose not to leave. I mean, how to deal with such relatives staying day in, day out with you?
Yeah. That's a big question.
Yeah.
And I've got a whole bunch of antidotes here, and I've given you a few clearings already that will really assist with that. And I guess one of the biggest things is the willingness to receive judgment.
Yeah.
Now, there's been a whole bunch of stuff that's come up in my relationships. It's also been, as I've been willing to step up to be more of me and be more out there in the world, more and more people have judged me. And part of that, I have resisted it so much that it has not been easy. And so what you've really got to do is to start step where you don't have to do anything. What you can do, if you choose to, you can start stepping into those 5 elements of intimacy with yourself. And one of those is the willingness to be totally vulnerable and pull all your barriers down and expand out and keep on asking, how expanded do I need to be able to receive the judgments with total ease?
Wow.
Because one of the things that we tend to do is when we are faced with a large amount of judgment and there's a lot of charge attached to it, what we've learned in the past as kids is that we have to put up a barrier to it. And that just cuts us out of the picture. And, like, everything is the opposite of what appears to be. So in the face of judgment, instead of turning us down, what if you turn yourself up? Now, I'm not talking about turning yourself up as in fighting it, which is what this reality's point of view is. It's more about turning yourself up and being such vulnerability that when the charge comes at you, it's just like receiving, it's just receiving energy without a point of view. So I know many of you are very autistic in nature or OCD in nature. If you are relating to any of those disease of relationship symptoms, then you're probably quite highly OCD in the way that you pick up other people's realities. And one of the problems with this is that we've never really been taught that, oh my God, we're so fucking aware and that we're in somebody else's reality. What I found is that when I go into relationship with someone, I can go so far into their reality, I start to lose who I truly be, which doesn't help that fucking person at all. And it certainly doesn't help me. Instead of doing that, what if we start to expand out and ask that question, how much space can I be to receive the judgments from my family, to receive the other person without losing me? So I only wanted to go for 45 minutes, but if you guys are willing, I'm willing to go for another 15 minutes because there's a whole bunch of stuff that I wanted to talk about. of relationship. So it's your choice. What do you want to do? I don't know. Put your hand up if you want to, or put your thumb up like Judy. If not, fuck off.
I think Catherine and Judy have both got thumbs up. Yeah.
Okay.
And Anna's got a thumb up, and Karina's got a thumb up, and Rebecca's got a thumb up. Fuck's sake! I'm OCD. I can only count so many thumbs.
You're charting.
So, why don't we take it, because on the top of my screen, I'm going to go from the people I can see the thumbs up on my screen, and Catherine is the top. So why don't we work down the screen, because then that works in my OCD brain. Does that work?
I get that. I get that anyone who's still on here wants me to go on. So let's just go on. Okay, so one of the first things is if you are having any of these symptoms of a disease or relationship, is that you really require to make a demand of yourself that you're going to change this no matter what. Now, I know there are a few people on the call that have really been assisting me and facilitating me in changing this. And, you know, like, I know that there's a long way to go. And when you make a demand of yourself that you're going to change this no matter what, if you fall off the wagon, don't fucking worry about it. It's not a wrongness that you go back into some sort of invention, or that you go into some obsessive thinking, or you go back into your partner's reality. It's not wrong. It's not wrong. You're not doing anything wrong. It just means that now is the time to choose again. Okay? And that's one of the things that has been really, really vital for me. And something that has been really a great gift in all the people that have been facilitating me is, yes, sure, they've been going, I'm not buying your fucking story any longer, Liam. I've got to go, bye-bye. And that's cool. But and at the same time, they haven't made me wrong for continually going through the story. Like I've been getting more and more and more and more awareness through that. So if you fall off the wagon, you're not wrong. It's just that's the point where you know I've just fallen off the wagon. I've just chosen to go back into the story. How cool is that? What choice do I have now that I didn't have before? Because you may have fallen off the wagon in order to get some sort of a fucking awareness that you didn't have before. Now you've got it. What choice do you have? What can you contribute now? What possibility has opened up? And what question can you ask? Oh, what choice do I have?
Liam, we have a question. Oh, he's frozen. Princess Liam. Kirk has a question. He says, we are charting uncharted places regarding start of relationships. Some questions don't require answers. The energy in them is enough. Some require answers. How do you decipher which require answers and which do not?
No question requires an answer.
No.
This is one of the things of disease of relationship, is that we're always looking for some sort of answer or conclusion. Now, when we go into a conclusion is a lie. There is no truth in it. We have to be the time. As soon as we come out of it and we go, there's the answer, we've fucked ourselves. Because every answer stops us from receiving a different possibility. And it cuts us out from being that contributive and the people that we're with. As soon as you come to an answer, pot and pocket, what we tend to do is that we tend to have an awareness and then we twist it into a conclusion. So you want to ask that question, have I just twisted that awareness into some sort of conclusion here? And then you go back into the question of it rather than making it the answer. it's one of I'm really, really grateful for that question, because it's one of the things that I'm really, really good at, is coming to conclusion or coming to answer. I think that maybe some of you are really, really good at that too. And it's what you've got to acknowledge. If you're good at coming to conclusion or coming to an answer, acknowledge that you're really good at it. Because as soon as you acknowledge it, you don't have to be owned by it any longer. You can step past the slavery of conclusion and into the freedom of which is one of the antidotes to the disease of relationship, is always be willing to acknowledge what you have created, whether it's good, bad, or ugly. You know, one of the things in one of my relationships years ago was I was not actually willing to acknowledge that the crap that I created was actually a contribution to that person stepping up into something greater. And because I had made it a wrongness, I was never willing to be able to see that. So it kept on biting me in the butt. You've got to be willing to look at what it is that you're creating. Now, sometimes you are creating things that other people say that you are wrong. You're doing this wrong. You're doing it wrong. You're doing it wrong. You don't know what you're creating, but actually you're so way in the future that you're actually creating something that you know is going to create something different from that person. I'm not talking about justifying being an asshole. I'm asking you to acknowledge what it is that you are creating, rather than going into the wrongness of what people are projecting at you as that you are stupid. You're never stupid. There's always something that you are creating. What are you creating? Acknowledge it, whether it's good, bad, or ugly. The other thing is that we need to do is, we don't need to do anything, it's just a choice, is start to step into being an interesting point of view. And like one of the things that Curry and I have, we've just started, we did it years ago, but we've just restarted it, is that we have this thing called IPOV 100. 100 people in every class that we create. And we also want to remind ourselves to be an interesting point of view of everything. And so every day I just text Curry, my friend, interesting point, or IPOV 100. And she texts back to me, IPOV 100. Great relationship, because we don't do a lot of projection or judgment or separation with each other. And so each day we just do that, and it point of view. So if you have somebody that is willing to do that, just text every day, IPOV, you know, like it can be a huge contribution, because you're, you know, like you're doing the poor, pitiful me thing. I might as well go away and eat worms or whatever. And then your mate texts you IPOV and you go, oh yeah, interesting point of view. I had that point of view that I'm pathetic. Yeah. So the other thing is also is that because we're the type of people that really, really care, is that what happens is that we go into the other person's reality and we start to try to create something for them, and because we care about them so much, and what we tend to do is we lose who we be. So you have to, you can start to practice again that very simple tool of who does this belong to? Because if you're so deep into somebody else's reality that you don't know what is yours and what is somebody else's any longer, then you start to make choices based on somebody else. And that does not help that person. and it does not help you. So, interesting point of view, and who does this belong to? And for every thought, feeling, and emotion that comes up will give you the greatest amount of area. Now, I know Gary says if you practice interesting point of view, who does it belong to for 3 days, that you'll get the awareness that 98% of your thoughts, feelings, and emotions are not yours. And I'd like to add to that, if you've gone into somebody else's reality that you're relating with, or if you've gone into a money reality where you're trying to understand things, you're going to fuck yourself up if you don't keep asking that question, who does this belong to? Okay. So there are three other things. One, choose to be happy. And make that a demand for yourself right now. Whatever it fucking takes, I'm choosing to be happy. Now, I know I've talked about this on the last call with the choice. And I know everybody says happiness is just a choice. But when you're deep down in the shit of things and somebody says, happiness is just a choice, you just want to fucking shove that up their asshole.
True story.
Yeah, true story. It's like you don't have to resist and react to it. It's sort of like make that demand for yourself. Choose happiness. Whatever it is, choose happiness. And whatever that is for you. Yeah. So there's two things with that. Is one, you need to surround yourself with happy people. Now that might be some facilitators. That might be a friend. It's probably not your lover because you've probably chosen them to heal them or something because they're a miserable fuck. Or you've chosen them because, for whatever reason, or your family, they're probably not the happiest people around you. So you need to find some people that are happy. And the other thing is that you can also move your body. Now, I had a conversation with Lisa about this, and she was saying, go and do something that's fun and happy for you, Liam. Go and jump in a fucking gondola. I'm going, fucking gondolas. I hate fucking gondolas. I hate that. I hate fucking everything. I am not going to do anything. Nothing makes me happy. I am going to be in my misery. Okay, well, if that makes you happy, that's great. Today, what made me happy was I went and bought a mask. Yay, that made me happy. Cool. So whatever it is, it doesn't matter what it is for you. If it's just some painting, if it's masturbation, if it's I don't know, having a wee drink, whatever it is, it doesn't have to be something huge. I know for myself, when I ask my body what would make you happy, often it's like, go and cut your fingernails, Liam. Or like I was on the phone call the other day with Lisa, and I can't sit still for very long talking. So I went and had a shave. And Lisa's going, what the fuck are you doing? It sounds like there's a whole bunch of mosquitoes in the room. And it's sort of like, that actually made me happy to go, zzz. It was fun. So you don't have to spend a lot of money on it. You don't have to travel the world to do it. It's just like, choose something that would make you happy. And in that, make sure that you can move your body. And I was looking at one of the posts from Dr. Dane the other day. We do live a very sedentary lifestyle these days. We sit a lot of the time in front of our computers, making them the source of our business, making them the source of our relationships. How many of you go, that's another symptom of the disease of relationship. How many of you are looking at the number of Facebook likes that you have, or what's going on in other people's realities, or, oh, that person looks happy because they're on the fucking gondola and I'm not, or whatever. And you go into story or competition, like, you know, like for an hour a day, get off Facebook perhaps, and, you know, and choose some stuff that would be that where you can move your body. Take your dog out for a walk. Take your lover out for a walk. Take you out for a walk. It doesn't have to be anything. You don't have to go and run a marathon or anything. It's
So is that creating beyond the disease of Facebook?
Yeah, or what I like to call fuckbook. Oh, pop me, just a little bit of charge on that. Okay. I'm hoping that will give everybody at least a little bit of freedom. Please run those 2 clearings that we've gotten on there. The one about the vital, valuable and real, about the disease of relationship, and also the invention of relationship. What have you made? So what are you inventing with relationship? They will help. They will create a difference for you if you're willing to run them, and if you're willing to actually step up for you and inspire you to a different possibility. I am having a 5 to 6 week telecall on creating beyond the disease of relationship. It's not just about lovers. It really is about, well, you all know me. It's I have had a lot of stuff go on in my body over the years. My body is really, really phenomenal. I know a lot of stuff about it. And I've also, over the last couple of years, I've also been stepping into hugely more with money. And who knows, I might actually be able to change relationship with me and other people.
No.
There might actually be this thing called a miracle.
You can't do
it. Thank you. In the 6 weeks telecall, the 6 week telecall, we're going to be looking at more of these tools that will allow us to really, really step into that a whole bunch more. So if you'd like to join me, I'm going to send you an email later on, and, you know, like what truly is possible with these tools, and really those 4 things, that contribution, that question, that choice, and that possibility. If we stay in those 4 things, which is probably what the 6 weeks is going to be about, is really stepping into the choice, the possibility, the question, and the contribution that we can be to ourselves, so that we can be that 5 elements of intimacy with ourselves, to really trust us, to really know who we be, to be ourselves in no matter what shows up. And what would that create in your reality? What would that create with your money flows? What could that create with your body? If you're interested, please. If you're not, then don't come along. That's totally okay. And if you have found this talk today of any help, and you know somebody that is in some sort of disease of relationship where they're just fucking beating themselves up and they will really require some assistance, please either send them this link or send them the sign up, and we can send them this, and maybe we can all contribute to creating a different reality on this planet. Thank you and good night.
Thank you, Mr. Liam.
Yeah,
remember to press
thanks.
stop.
Cool.
Thank you,
Oh,
thank
remember to press stop. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there any dying burning question that anyone has that we haven't sort of like covered?
Do we get a recording?
Yes. We'll send out the recording within 24 hours. Well, I will send out the recording within 24 hours.
Thanks, Ellen. Thanks, Liam.
And Yeah, and like truly, 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 I'm truly grateful for everybody that's come on this call. I am truly grateful for everybody that has contributed to me in facilitating me that I could actually talk about this without being a complete blithering mess. And, you know, whatever is going on in your reality, there is a way around it. Please don't give up, never give up, never give in. You are the center of the universe. Without you, you know, there would be something missing. Cool. Thank you, everybody. I'm going to kick you all off now. I'm going to go and have another drink. And
So, being badly behaved with Lisa.
another group. Thank you so much for everybody for coming. Woohoo.
All right.
Let's make it an orgasmic reality. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Woohoo!